Good, how are you?
So you pay one price no matter how much it snows or how
Happy
much
New
it's
Year.
Oh, that's not how I
Feels
got
like we're
this.
really in it.
Well, we did not sign up for that.
Yeah,
We had
Now
nights
it's gonna take.
boot up the snow blower.
yeah. I tell my guy, don't come if it's less than 40.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town of Woodbridge Joint Board of Finance and Board of Selectmen meeting. It's Thursday, January 22nd, 6:02 p.m. Public comments? Any public comments? Seeing none, we'll kick off the budget presentation. Tony?
Okay, so I will be presenting the first hour. And,
Was that a joke?
Probate court.
Sounded like a joke.
Bad one.
trying to navigate this, this thing at the same time. Okay, here we go. So, the first probate court, and it's pretty self-explanatory. It's our percentage of the fee, as we're part of the Derby Regional Probate Court System. And the fee is based off your grand list. So as you can see in the budget, our amount went from $9,500 to $11,500 because of the increase in our grand list. And we're basically billed by the court once a year.
So we really have no control.
No,
Okay.
no. Okay,
Government access.
that was simple.
We have no
Question.
control, that's it. Done.
Okay.
Government access.
Government access, yeah, just
TV.
give me a second to pull that up.
Don't want to borrow my thing here.
Hmm?
Can I have it?
Just give me 1 second here. I want to pull it because I got a bunch of it to do here. Okay, next is Government Access TV.
Are they presenting?
Well, I'm going to just start, and then if we have any questions, I'm sure they can,
Nick is here.
Nick is here to answer any questions you may have. Okay, so the first line item and the majority of the funds are spent on the program coordinator and the camera operators, and to tape all of the meetings that you all have. And we had, you can see the actual of 25 was 30,000, and the budget for 26 adopted was 32,000, and this year we're projecting 35,000. So in the budget we have for the request for 27 and 2.5% above the current budget, and so it really depends on how many meetings you want to tape and what other activities you want to tape. And so I know I think you're re-energizing the commission on this, if I'm not mistaken.
We are indeed.
So hopefully they can provide more clarity and more direction on this particular item so we can budget appropriately.
And they'll work directly with on, basically what happened, we weren't sure whether we would just make this department, so we didn't have really a GATV commission last time. What we found is basically there is work that needs to be done, and it's done by the staff, which is not necessarily the best way for it to be done, considering some of the other things the staff needs to do. So we've restarted the government access. We've already appointed people to it. I think there's one open. No, yeah, there's one opening we'll do on the next time. The responsibilities will be what they were before. If we do have grant money, that they will determine the best use of that grant money. They'll also determine how best to get additional grant money if it's available, as well as take care of the scheduling and the oversight of the current staff, and in terms of what they're doing, how they're doing it, and so they can report rather than they can report to the staff, the town hall staff, and or the board, and we can make decisions as to what we should do or shouldn't do and how we should do it. What we need to decide, and we can certainly decide collectively, is what we would like to see done as far as filming is concerned.
Right.
And the steps we've taken, because we've been trending over budget, is to kind of pull back on some of the smaller commissions and committees, and focus on some of the larger where we have public interest and we have public participation. And we can discuss that. And checking with, from a requirement standpoint, it is not required that we record meetings. So it works out to be a very nice thing, and it seems to be viewed by the public to a moderate degree. The bigger, important type of meetings are definitely useful to have recorded. So that's basically where we are. Nick, I don't want to know if we want to offer anything more with regard to that.
What do you need to know?
Just as it works right now, where we started off, when I started 2 years ago, I had indicated we wanted to record as much as we could, because we wanted to have as much transparency as we could. And we're finding that's, if we checked, we monitored to see how many views we're getting on different commissions, and we're getting very, very few on some of them. And on others, you're getting an ample amount to justify being
I was going to ask
done.
if you indeed are able to collect data as to how many people view these meetings,
Yep.
maybe give you a better idea.
We did to
There's a
certain,
lot of interest in a certain
yeah,
public, meeting of.
yeah, we did. Go on.
What's included in the wages we've set aside? How many meetings does that include? Like what boards and commissions does that already include?
We
Obviously,
do about, at the highest level, we do like 16 or 17.
Oh.
And
boards and commissions, or
yeah,
okay.
of the 40, I think there's like 40 or 45, correct?
Right.
Yeah, we do about 16 or 17 of them. Agriculture meets like 4 or 5 times a year. And I think we recently stopped doing sustainability.
Right.
And we'll maybe do that once during Earth Day, because I know that a lot of people watch like during the Earth Day thing, because that's like a big deal. So I think, yeah, we've cut back on that. And so that's the only one we've cut back on so far, because it was not a lot of people were engaged in it. Like inland wetlands used to be not a lot, but like last night, it's like, a lot of interest.
Yeah, it depends on the topic.
Depends on the topic,
And
so.
that's a question I have. Does it have to be I mean, I understand. Can
That's-
it change if
Yes.
a topic arises like inland wetlands where public interest suddenly does
Yeah,
spike?
absolutely. And that's one of the things we would hope that the commission would kind of pay attention to and be able to meet on and identify, as well as we can dictate anytime if we have an event. Sometimes there is an event we want recorded, and we'll obviously secure schedule that with the team. So what here is we need to determine to what extent we feel it's important to do this. So how much money do we want to spend on it? We could, as Nick said, we're doing about less than half. We're doing about a third. We haven't seen, there certainly hasn't been a public outcry for more, or there hasn't been, I haven't received input from people saying that we're not doing enough, or we missed something, or anything along those lines. So it's not as if there's a particular issue or problem or want that we're not addressing. So it's at this point in time just a matter of looking at it, saying, okay, we projected for 35, we're trending higher. What do we want to do?
I have a question about process. Do you have the ability to, so for some of the other boards and commissions maybe that don't meet as often, or that they're smaller
Yeah.
groups, that there hasn't been public interest, is there still the availability where if we had a hybrid meeting and recorded ourselves on WebEx, we could then send the recording to you and you could edit it to put up on WGATV?
Sure.
As opposed to
I mean-
having to be there with us, like we could have a recorded WebEx
Yeah,
and
we do that from time to time on different things. You're
Okay.
saying in lieu of going to record to cut down on, but is that what you're saying?
Well,
Or just,
Another method, like if we needed a smaller board or commission, but we wanted a record of it
are you
on
saying
GATV, is there a possibility we don't necessarily need you there, but could we WebEx
something that we
it?
don't currently film?
Correct.
Oh, yeah, I mean, sure,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Do you have an estimated, so you said 16 or 17 boards and commissions, do you have an estimated cost per meeting
That is, okay, so.
or range of
what we're-
cost?
So like what we're recording now on this system that we have in the back, it's, we're getting technical a little bit, but it's a compressed thing. So if this meeting here is like 12 hours, it's not gonna be 12 hours.
Yeah.
But if it's 12 hours, it's gonna be less space than if I filmed something at the cafe with a small camera.
Okay.
Because the small camera condenses everything down and it's higher quality. I should be able to explain this better.
No, that's
But I
okay. It's
think
making, it's tracking.
It's higher quality video, and it's not compressed like this is.
Okay.
So it takes up more space. Therefore, it takes longer to edit, and it looks maybe better if it's like that. But so the meetings that are filmed in this room that are live streamed, it's compressed down, so they're easier to edit. They don't take as long to edit.
So is the bulk of the cost in editing?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I also schedule things on TV, and I try to, put as much details into the things. So,
Yeah, you do. You do good.
probably
Great work.
people think I'm not doing, but I sometimes I'm just waiting around for things to like finish or things to because in order for it to go to TV, it has to go through a thing called the TelView Connect system, which is like an online TV thing that compresses the thing for TV. Because if you just upload the video straight to the TV program, it's all wonky and it's not formatted, so then it looks weird, and then people are like, why does this look bad? And so those things it's mostly that. So like mostly if I like work from home or work here, it's like waiting for something to go, and then once that's done, you put it. So it's most of it.
So I guess maybe to simplify it, so 16 commissions, what is 2 hours roughly on every
Some
commission?
are
Certainly
longer.
the Board of Selectmen.
So about
Some are 6 hours.
If you do an average,
40
I'd
hours
say
a
I'd say you're closer to 3 hours on an average
But
per,
some
because
are-
some are an hour and some are 4.
Or
So-
6.
Or 6.
An hour and a half.
Closer to 4.
Hour and a half, 2 hours is like
Lately.
average. Agriculture is 25 minutes.
So I guess looking at the budget, about $100 an hour
Yeah.
to record.
Mika, I would, for if we or the commission decides not to slim the list of commissions and boards, I would suggest for consideration that we reinstate the Board of Selectmen liaison approach to those boards, so that at least a member at our meetings could report out, and there can still be some level of updates and information sharing accessible to the public and for the benefit of our benefit.
Correct. Did we speak about liaisons, or was that with
No.
Board of Finance?
Board of Finance did.
Okay, our next meeting, we will talk about liaisons, and
Okay.
that is something that we could consider, yes. Yes, we did review it with, I remember just talking about it recently, and we need to do it on our side.
Yeah.
It is, from my perspective, it is something we need to plan for, at least on the ones that we consider to be primary.
Can I ask a question about, might not have to do with budget, so maybe I should.
Please.
not. Oh, okay. So because we have we kind of didn't know there was, I know you said that we were going to get a commission, and then it just kind of happened. Would it change how we have to ask the I'm just not used to that in the 2 years I've been here. Will we have to ask the commission to like get, to do any small thing? So like if
Now, the commission meets on a monthly basis. Now,
Yeah.
they'll usually provide some sort of oversight in terms of identifying what you should be doing for a particular month. If things change beyond that, then that's something you can take up with the staff.
Okay.
As you have been in the past. That's
Right.
what we're looking to do, is have them established so that they can do the oversight, the broader oversight. Individual decisions, particularly where dollars are concerned, that'll still be taken by Tony and Karen, and
Okay.
following the process we follow now.
Okay.
All right. So from my perspective, we didn't, as Tony has indicated, it's a 5% increase in the budget. We will, I feel like after a year, we can have during the year, the commission, the chair of the commission can come in and tell us how we're operating, what's going on, how they're doing it, and what changes are made, and then we can adjust accordingly.
Tony, I'm just curious, prior to 24, was that number, the annual number, somewhat level around 24, or was there big jumps prior to that? I'm just curious historically how much this has grown.
Historically, I would say it's close to the number in 24.
Okay.
It's probably grown in the last few years.
Got it.
Thank you.
Okay.
We appreciate what you do.
general admin.
Okay. General admin is basically, the big item in general admin is, of course, is our property liability and auto insurance, which includes our insurance coverage for all of our town buildings, town boards, cybersecurity, our umbrella coverage. It includes pollution coverage and a number of other items. And we also are on the same policy, and we get pricing together with the Board of Education. When we split out the costs based on the coverage for each. This is a very preliminary number, and it tends to, and conservative, and it should tend to, hopefully we'll get better and go down a little as we get further in the budget process. This is something that usually happens every year. As we get closer to the renewal date, some of the pricing starts to materialize a little better, and we go out and get pricing each year from different carriers, and so I should have an update on this as we go further in the process.
So this may be adjusted?
Yeah, it most likely will, yes.
Is it generally adjusted down?
Down, yeah.
Down.
I would
Just
hope-
want to make
I
sure.
mean,
It's always down.
Why would it have gone up almost $100,000
3
in
years.
3 years?
One is cybersecurity. That's one that's gone up a lot. And the other is we added umbrella coverage, which was a request a few years back. And so we added an extra 10 million of umbrella coverage. That's another reason.
And have we had to use,
We haven't,
okay, do you think we still
but a lot
should?
of, based on the cost and the risk, and a lot of the risk comes from, one big area of risk is police. And if you look at experience of other towns, and I know New Haven's had some big lawsuits, and it's a judgment call based on how much it costs versus how much risk you're willing to take on.
Now that
Deli-
the properties on the country club are taken down, the abandoned buildings, did that decrease our liability, is it all?
Well, we still have the one that's the most liability.
Okay.
The,
That's
What I-
another
what I
reason why
consider-
we did that. That's a good observation. But that building's another reason.
one of the suggestions that I would make is that I know legislators are considering, one of the big topics that are being discussed for this next session is limiting the liability on towns for things like what Tony is saying.
Massachusetts and
So-
New York have tort caps for
Correct.
municipalities, and Connecticut does not.
My suggestion
So
is
that
that
would
we.
help us?
Well, yeah,
It would,
we wouldn't need a huge umbrella.
if it happens, it would help us, but my suggestion would be that we reconsider the umbrella coverage should that occur. But until that occurs, the liability is significant, and towns around us have been impacted severely in regard to that.
We're not unusual. Most towns have gone up to, we used to have a $10 million coverage and a $10 million umbrella. Now it's a $20 million umbrella, so we went up 10 million.
What portion is the umbrella of the 352?
It is, give me a second to look that up.
And Mika, while he looks it up for the benefit of the public, when would the legislative session?
I know it's being considered, it's been asked to be considered in this session, so their next session. Can't remember if it's a long or a short session, but.
I think it's a short session.
Yeah, pretty sure it is too. So I'm not sure if it'll make it this time.
So we'll know in the next couple of months.
We'll have some idea in the coming months.
Any other questions?
You were just waiting on Tony
Yeah, just
to,
give me
that
one
piece of
second. I have to look
information.
up this, So the umbrella is, so it's about 50,000 for each. So the primary, and then the secondary, and then, so each umbrella is about 50,000. The excess liability, and then you get to the third level, and that's 20,000, so to answer your question.
So roughly half of the increase over 3 years is due to the umbrella.
Right. So we went to 25 million.
Right.
Yeah. So it's roughly 50,000 per 10 million. Cyber's about 20,000. And that's split with the Board of Education. That's the total.
The cyber is, or the?
Both.
Both, okay.
Yeah. The umbrella, the number I gave you is the total, not just the town. The town would take half of it. In addition, in this department, we have some of the functions in town hall, which is the postage, office supplies, electricity. You'll see went down a little in the town for town hall. So I was able to reduce that. And water for town hall, and the copier in that room, and the postage machine.
Did electricity go down because it was closed so much?
No, I think just the
Sir,
the usage. Yeah.
I see the notes say that there's a big increase in the price of natural gas.
Yeah.
The budget amount stays the same.
Right. That was the reason why the price went up in the previous year.
That's just a carryover from last year.
Yeah. It's a carryover from last year. Okay. What's next?
Other questions? Information systems.
Okay. So information systems, while I pull it up here, is the all of our computer support for the town. It does not include police and does not include fire. Theirs is in their respective budgets. This is mainly for all the other departments. And I'll do the operating first. The first is our data processing, which is for the we have a third-party vendor that helps with all of our technical assistance for all of our computer needs, and that is shared with the police department. And it's a retainer basis, and they provide service for network services, computers. So basically, the IT is basically run through Karen and myself and Allison. The three of us sort of work together on that, but we don't have any IT expertise in-house. It's all outsourced. So
Here in Town Hall.
in town hall, yeah. And that would be for all departments except police and fire.
And Board of Ed, I assume. as well.
And Board of
Correct.
Ed, right. The software maintenance line is basically the line that has a lot of the activity. And this is an area where ClearGov has a little more information than the summary. If you go to the software maintenance line in ClearGov, it has listed all of the software packages that we have here in town, and their approximate annual amount that for each. So I could just read some of them out for you if you don't have ClearGov open, but it's our financial package, the tax collector's software, both for the tax collector and the tax assessor, because they both have access to that. The appraisal software for the assessor, the online, and that's also online, the building department, GIS, Human Services has a scheduling software, Civic Rec, the website, and all of our email filters and firewall and the digital budgeting package for the ClearGov and our support for our servers and switches, and some licensing fees. So those are all listed in ClearGov, but those are mainly, and as you all probably are aware from some of your own dealings, that these prices tend to go up, and we have little negotiation on a lot of these, particularly the larger ones, unless we want to switch, in which case it's a large undertaking.
So we're not adding systems, these are price
These are all
increases
price
that have gone up
increases.
$50,000 in
Correct.
3 years.
That's correct. We've not added anything.
Yeah.
So Tony, just a couple questions if I can. One is, where does our cybersecurity expertise come in? And is it also shared? Or is it, I mean, I understand that we've talked about this in the past, why police and everybody else is separate, but I have expressed some concern over the years that I think that with the increased risk for in cybersecurity world, that I don't know that it makes sense to have if we have three different approaches to that.
We just have 3 different networks. They're not 3 different approaches, really. Like the police and the town share the same vendor.
So they're providing the cybersecurity.
Yeah, the same.
And at the fire department and at Beecher?
No, they have separate
They have separate support.
support.
The-
So I'm just wondering whether it makes sense at
There's
some
a
point to
Beecher
look at
network that is just Beecher.
Right, I
And
understand
they have
that.
their own support, and they have their own all support, whether it's in-house or otherwise. Here in town, we have one vendor who takes care of us in the police, town hall and the police, and we have a separate vendor who takes care of the fire department. The networks are connected, obviously, for us to connect to each other. However, our vendor here at town hall doesn't work on the servers, for example, at the fire department. Police department has to be separate.
Right,
They have to have
right.
their own for obvious reasons. So we're optimizing as far as us and the police department are concerned.
And I just wonder whether, for both the risk perspective of it and a cost perspective of it, whether we should look back and say we should have one cybersecurity expert for the town and all departments. Because I think we might be able to get a better quality. I'm not saying that the quality is poor. I'm just saying that typically speaking, organizations want to have one cybersecurity expert looking at all the networks and looking at all the stuff.
So we did have a cybersecurity grant that we're using to develop a cybersecurity expert, as you indicate, and that includes fire, police in the town. The grant was not available for the Board of Education. And was at the last board saw a presentation on that.
Yep.
And that's funded through a grant, through our COG, half of 50% of it. And so we're definitely coordinating with those 3 entities.
So we have what you just suggested in terms of a cybersecurity entity that's reviewing all of our networks. All three
right?
networks.
But
all
not
three networks.
Beecher.
It was
But not
excluded from
Beecher.
the-
Right, no, I'm just saying that, I just think, again, I'm just sort of bringing that up, that's one question.
But also keep in mind that we migrated to .gov very specifically
To do some of this.
for added cybersecurity. So we paid, there was an expense associated with that, so that also provides and the police, fire, and us are all on that in terms of our emails and our platform. So that's, again, a single network overview, if you will, view.
And all I'm saying is it may be worthwhile to talk with the superintendent and to have, Board of Selectmen look at, does it make sense to have the Board of Ed doing their own thing over there? And again, not to say that it's not going well, but just in the interest of, because I think a lot of times, my experience has been that the schools are getting hit because they can't afford the same level of expertise that others can provide. That was just one.
Generally, and it's something we need to confirm with the schools, but generally speaking, the schools are offered programs that are less expensive than what the town might be
Right.
offered. So, so that's what we need to verify when the school comes in with their budget.
Right.
It's something that we could really question them on in terms of what they're taking advantage of. More time than I speak, for example, the CEN network, Connecticut Educational Network, and what's available through that is usually more attractive financially than if we were providing it from a
It makes sense.
town
I just-
standpoint.
So, I mean, maybe you've looked at it and maybe, again, just throwing it in the mix. And the other question I have is how many different scheduling packages is the town using currently?
Scheduling packages.
I mean, I think that, you know, I at a high level, I haven't drilled down in it, so, you know, mea culpa if I'm being ridiculous, but is rec using their own system? Is the library using their own system?
No, we're slowly migrating. The rec system is the most robust system that we have, and we have the most use on it.
Right.
And so we have the most familiarity with it. So we've been migrating as there have been requirements from the different departments. For example, Human Services will be here soon, and what they do for the Living Treasure.
Those are all done through the rec package.
Now
It's all
we're
done
using,
through the rec.
yes,
It's all
we
being
are.
done through
We're
the rec.
starting to
Great.
centralize.
And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because at one of the meetings regarding the CCC, people were complaining that there seemed to be multiple places that they had to go to figure out what was going in town. And I just was curious if that was a package issue or a cultural issue.
Say that again, what was he?
So that if you want to find out what's happening in town on the third weekend in February, they were saying that you have to go and look in the rec system to see what they were doing.
Not the case.
And that's what they were
Yeah,
saying.
just simply not the case.
Okay.
Now, is every single thing that anyone is doing on, like, if you go on the calendar, if you go on the main page.
Right.
In the calendar, there's a calendar there, and it'll specify, you'll see it highlighted if there's something, anything, a meeting, an event, if there's something that has been, we have a means by which we can do it. And that's what we're working more toward, and we have been working more toward for quite some time now, for a couple of years now, is as events and as meetings are identified, they're put into the calendar. That calendar's been there forever.
It has been,
It has
right.
been there forever.
Right, that
So
calendar's
now
been
what
a long
we're-
time, it's just
And
hasn't
what
been
we're
used
doing is
all
we're
that well.
using that, and we're working with our website vendor specifically to leverage what they have to offer, what it's included in our package, to be able to do exactly what you're describing. So if you go on February 9th, you click on it, it'll show you what's happening in town that particular day. Now, does that mean that library might have a children's program that wasn't included? That's possible. That's possible, just more a matter of.
And I don't want to get into, I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's a policy, other discussion. I was just looking at it from the
What's
budget
important?
perspective is if we're migrating or have migrated mostly to whatever rec is using, that's great, because then we're not paying software for multiple different packages. If it sounds like there may be a different question, which is how do we oversee how this works?
Or how do we sync the calendar so that everything if there's multiple systems, do the systems sync at any point so that everything,
But I
all
hope
the
there weren't
information.
multiple systems.
Well, right.
And there's multiple processes on top of that. And it's one of the things you'll see when I do my presentation is, we need a resource. We don't have the resource or the time to necessarily collect all that information and oversee all that information the way it is right now with the resources we have right now. So yes,
Okay.
in terms of what you're suggesting, you'll see some recommendations that will enable us to do that better.
I'm glad I'm queuing it up
So,
for you.
it was a nice idea. It was a nice way to do it. So, but there's some challenges there that we recognize, and what we want to do is make sure that as we're migrating, we're eliminating anything that could save us money. So it's easy to move on to a platform, but you got to make sure you're moving off of the other
right.
ones in ending the expense associated with that.
Great, thanks.
Good discussion. No further questions? Finance?
Or capital.
Yeah, there's a few capital items.
Yeah.
I'll go over, yeah.
Did you do the finance department?
No, I'm going to do the capital for the
First,
IT.
Oh, capital for IT, sorry.
So we have a number of items for the capital budget for our IT. For the first is a lease payment for the police department, and that is the final one that we have for it. And, so it was 22, so it was a 5-year lease, and that replaced all the servers and network switches and wiring at the police department. The second is a server replacement. It's at the town, And it's our VRTX server is out of warranty and is something we should consider replacing.
Is that a backup server for the town?
It's our main
That's
main
our
server.
main server.
Yeah.
It's over at the PD?
It's at the
Or is-
PD.
yeah,
And the PD,
okay.
ours backs up to the PD and the PD backs up to ours.
Got it.
And then they're both backed up to a cloud.
How long was the warranty?
4 years. We're in the 5th year.
And how long do they typically
So we
last?
could, it's a question of getting patched and getting updates for the server is more the issue. So I have to get more information on this, and but we just wanted to put it in here as an item so you can see that it's something we have to do at some point.
Tony, how about the condition of the server room in the police department?
So the server room,
Oh,
the
dear.
radio room is the one that's
Okay.
where the 911 comes in. That's the room that needs a lot of attention.
Okay.
It overheats and has a lot of issues with, it's so crowded into all the technology. The servers are actually in the that back, right in the back radio room. Where, it's like a trailer on the back end of the police. That's relatively new, has air conditioning and backup power, and is actually in good shape.
Okay, great.
What does the warranty on the server cover?
It covers parts. It covers if the server goes down, they'll send a tech out. If it covers updates, covers like one time we had the server go down. They had to overnight a new board, and then the tech came in and installed the board for us. That was maybe a year ago. A year or two ago. Every once in a while, something like that'll happen. It covers that also.
What does an extended warranty plan cost per year?
I can find that
To
out.
extend that from a 4-year to a 5-year?
Yeah, I can find that out.
And also, is there a different way of owning this? Can we lease this instead
We
of?
could, as a matter of fact, yes, that's definitely an option. We did that with the police. So it's financing it, we can finance it in different ways. Yes.
Because presumably the lease would come with some kind of service agreement.
Yeah, we can certainly look into that also.
If you're doing a finance lease, I'm not sure that it does come with maintenance.
He was talking about a leasing.
You're talking
the
about a
equipment.
Actually
service.
leasing the service,
Service.
yes.
You're just like, yeah, okay.
And that brings my question up, is do we have a policy for hardware replacement?
We have a policy for computer replacement. We have a replacement plan, and we cycle the computers every.
And I've been out long enough that I don't remember how often you need to replace servers and, what. I mean, we all know about laptop replacements, but from the server side, is there something that we should be doing? So, do you have a warranty for 4 years because that's what they expect it to last, and so we try to get it out, or do we?
We meet with our vendor at least twice a year, but at least annually. Vancourt, very specifically to go over the entire network, to go over what we have, how old it is, what the condition of it is, what's new that should be considered, where we are. That's one of the it was during one of those sessions that we actually opted to move from a pay-as-you-go maintenance service to a retainer service, for example. When you do the math, it seemed like they were able to offer us a better deal. So they're the ones who are they're the ones who are caring
Advising
for our
on what should be
network,
done.
exactly, and advising us in terms of what there is and how there is. In answer to your question, Andrea, servers it depends in terms of, how long they go, what is it used for, what are the new updates that come in, and how critical are they, what changes are made with legislation that requires you to do something different. But generally speaking, technology, 3 to 10 years, depending on the server. You can kind of hop along with something for 10 years, like phone systems have been known to go 15 to 20 years. They're servers now. So, but something that's used every day, or like what the police use, you want to make sure you're up to date on that. So it just depends.
And
we
again,
have-
I'm just sort of asking this question because we know that every year in the budget, we have to look for places to cut. And it would be nice to know if there's some sort of a schedule that our vendor would recommend, so we can build that into our considerations.
Right. I can say that we're not doing anything that's extraordinary from what any other municipality our size does, except I feel like we're ahead of the curve, for example, with .gov. You know, migrating to .gov was a very important security measure that everybody's gonna have to do at some point in time. But aside from that, what we've been doing with IT is not extraordinary in terms of.
And don't take this the wrong way, being not extraordinary doesn't make me
No, I
warm
think
and
it's a good
fuzzy.
thing.
But
No, what
but I
I'm
think
saying
we're doing a
is
lot of
that-
the right stuff, I just wanna
Correct.
throw in the idea of.
And there was a recent audit that was done, and that's the reason we're working with the cybersecurity vendor that we're working with now, very specifically. They
remember
conduct a very thorough audit in terms of where there might be holes, and that we've contracted with them now to help us understand what we need to plug those holes to make sure that and the report, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, Karen, the report showed that we're in pretty good shape,
We are.
you know, like.
Which is great.
Yeah.
I think that's wonderful.
But at the same token, it's not like, wow, you guys are so far out ahead of everybody and we must be spending a ton of money. That's not the case, but we're solid.
Good. Thank you.
The next two projects are out a year, and one is this is a request from another department, is for cameras at the transfer station, and mainly due to some of the activity we have there, and it's remote location, and sometimes we have break-ins and other problems at the transfer station, and so there was a request to see if we could get cameras there to better monitor that situation. So that's one of the requests that's out in 2028.
Tony, would that be live monitored? Like, how
So-
would any crime be enforced or
So
dealt with?
You can, depending on where the cameras are, seen or unseen, you can maybe identify who is actually entering the premises.
And do a follow-up?
For the police, because every
Yeah.
time there's a crime up there, the first thing they ask us is, do you have any video footage that we can look at? Right?
How often is the
Perfect
crime
example
there?
Perfect example is what happened here. We have cameras on the outside here. There was an incident that occurred with the vehicle. Police came in, reviewed it, identified the car. What was put out, I think it was put out publicly. And other people identified who the car belonged to, and that person came forward and was responsible, obviously, to help pay for the damage that was occurred. So,
Do we know how many crimes have been reported in the past year at the transfer station?
There's been quite a few. Not within the past year, but over the past few years, there's been a few.
I don't know
I
if
really
it's
don't wanna
criminal,
get
but a
into
lot
it,
of
but-
people, if the transfer station isn't open, people dump their garbage. You know, they just leave
That
their
is
stuff
criminal.
there.
That's
Littering.
one of the
Yeah,
issues.
I mean, and
That's
there's
one of the
no-
that's one of the issues.
Yeah, I've seen
people
that happen.
dumping
That was
stuff.
certainly.
Yeah.
People dump stuff in a
Ooh.
lot of
I know, they just-
places, I'm
well,
noticing in town
They weren't
these
open, I'm
days.
gonna leave it anyway. They
They
can
dump
get
it
it
outside
on
the
Monday
gate.
morning.
Yeah.
Outside the front gate.
Is what?
They dump right outside
Yeah,
the gate.
exactly. I mean, it's just, give me a break.
Are there cameras
Gross.
presently at the transfer station?
There was, but they need to be upgraded. It doesn't really work that well. It's old. It's got to be. You know how old that is?
And what was
10
the
years old.
maintenance cost of the camera space? So this is a one-time capital cost to purchase and install, I'd imagine?
Correct. That's correct.
And then is there an annual maintenance cost for the service?
This is going to reduce the cost of IT support.
generally there is.
Yeah, generally.
It'd be helpful to have those numbers, for me at least,
Yep.
to better conceptualize the impact on the budget over the
Certainly.
short and long term.
And can I just ask why a year from now? Just to save?
Just
the
to-
current budget?
Yeah, just to balance out the.
Spread it out a bit.
Right. We don't want to put everything in the first year.
Yeah.
Of the
Yeah,
for
good-
instance,
good point.
of the relocating the servers, the server closet from finance to this room next door, and even the cameras at the transfer station didn't seem as much of an urgent need as firewall replacement and a UPS replacement.
Right.
Sure.
So that's why those are out a year. And the firewall for the town and police and the UPS replacements are in the current year.
But the relocating of the closet, am I saying this correctly? 15,500.
Yeah, well, then we need
Why?
we need to do some, what's that?
Why does that cost so much?
So
It sounds
it's almost,
like
it's all
moving-
labor.
It's labor and it's spaghetti city in there with all the wires.
Oh,
and-
okay.
If you've ever seen it in the back corner of finance.
No.
Yeah. So that's why.
And you also need particular expertise in order to do it.
That's assuming there's connections where you want to put it, right?
Correct.
So you have to do the
Question.
setup and the wiring and the
Correct.
configuration and all that stuff.
Right, correct, yeah,
Moving services is very expensive.
right. Okay. All right, next is finance. So finance is basically the salaries and wages and supplies required for the finance office. And you can see there's a 2.5% increase for wages as our cost of living adjustment, and except for regular clerical, which is a step increase for one of our employees. It's a union contract. There are 4 steps in the union contract. I believe he's going to be on step 4, so that would be the last increase for that. And the total increase is 8.89%. And the main reason is the reduction of bank fees from $7,000 to $500.
What did you do to get that?
Well, just by the nature of the float,
That's
because
good.
rates are a lot higher, even though we try to keep as little in the bank as possible, just the nature of the rates going up has added more float, which generates more interest in the bank, which requires no fees, basically. Just the transactions.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
When rates were 0.1%, we had to pay fees. Right,
Somebody's got to do it.
right,
Shove it on the customer.
right. Any questions on that? Okay. Dex is
Debt
debt service.
service.
Okay. Debt service is all of our interest and principal payments for all of our debt that we've issued here for the town. So you can see our total debt service went from $1.788 million in '26 to $1.882 million in '27. The main reason is the the principal interest for the roof and the site work improvements at the school. So it's the first real full year of interest and principal for that project, and so that's the reason for the increase. It's offset slightly by some principal pay downs and some of the other items, but that's the main reason for the increase.
Okay, any questions? None?
Can I
Employee?
ask just how many more years we have on the country club?
It's
How far?
31, I believe. It's about 5 years,
Thank you.
so we're almost there, actually.
We really are.
Unbelievably.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. And last, benefits, right?
Employee
Employee
benefits, yeah.
benefits. So employee benefits are largely a result of the staffing levels that we have here in town. This budget contains all of the benefits related to our employees. This includes FICA and Medicare match for the town, retirement for town and police. We are part of the municipal employee retirement system. CMERS is it's like people call it, and that's a pension system run by the state of Connecticut. And the This was joined by the town back many years ago, and there's really no cost-effective way to remove from that plan or to even change it for new hires. So we're sort of, we've looked into possibly changing that around, and it's virtually impossible.
Are the health insurance numbers locked in yet, or are
No.
those estimates?
No, those are estimates. And we also have health insurance with the Board of Education. And so as you can see, for the increase in healthcare is 15%. But you'll see that even though the healthcare has increased by 15%, due to coverage changes, the town, police, and retirees have no increase, simply because we've had some new employees who didn't take health care, or some employees have switched from family coverage to single coverage, or what have you. So in those two, there's no increase, even though the actual health care cost goes up 15%. The opposite happened at the town. We had some employees go from not receiving coverage to taking the coverage. So those are the three healthcare items, but no, that's not locked in yet. We're hopeful. Again, similar to the liability, auto, and property insurance, we estimate conservatively, and our goal and our hope is that it will go down. As for those of you who've been through this process before, is typically how it works here. So
we might see even
because see some negatives. Yeah.
So what would you say the rates, where are the rates coming in? I get that more folks have been added.
So the rates are is what the budget has an estimate of a 15% rate increase.
Okay.
But that's conservative, and we're hopeful that that'll go down to single digits, and that's our goal.
So of the 17.86 for the town, 15 of it is our rates.
Correct.
So just sorry,
After you.
just for clarity, when we say not locked in, are we shopping?
We shop, yeah.
We're shopping?
Yeah.
Okay.
We shop. We switched from Connecticut to Anthem, and this is our first year. This will be our second year coming up with Anthem. And but each year we always look at all of our options, including if right, or we're fully insured. If self-insured is an option, we look at that. We look at if there's any regional pools. So we always look at all of our options.
And when we say we're using a consultant.
We have a healthcare consultant, and it's basically me with Donna, the Board of Ed, and our consultant.
Thank you. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say on the Seymour's side, as Tony said, there's not a lot of latitude or flexibility that we have right now, but the state, through the comptroller, Sean Scanlon, is doing some work on that, coming up with some revisions, which hasn't happened forever, so it's pretty significant that he's working on it. That may improve some things, but that's down a little bit.
Because the state runs Seymour's, but the towns fund Seymour's.
Pay for it.
You could imagine that there's never really been any attempt to reform the system. And what's evidenced by, he's actually trying for the first time in probably 25 years.
Yep.
And as you can
It's significant.
as you can
It
see,
is very significant.
the salary match for police is 24%. So for every dollar of salary for a police officer, we contribute 24 cents for their pension, which is a lot.
Astronomical.
Yes.
Yes.
Wish I had got that.
Yeah.
Okay. The only other big item here is on the second page here, it's workers' compensation. Again, I include, this is also the same rate increase that we discussed for the other insurance, which is 10%, and it's hopeful that this will be reduced as well. So, more good news to come hopefully in this line, in this budget.
Do you think we'll have those insurance numbers before we conclude the?
We'll probably have the insurance numbers by March, so the Board of Finance should have it for their recommendation.
Okay.
That's our goal.
Okay.
If not, then definitely by the the hearing, so the board will have it for your recommendation after the preliminary budget hearing.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
And looks like we have a few folks here. Next up on the agenda, Conservation Commission.
Conservation, Sharon?
Conservation. Yep.
Good evening, Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance. We are here, Ann Boucher and myself, Sharon Ducat, to present the budget for the Conservation Commission. I've got my glasses. So first I'd like to say thank you for taking the time. This budget is largely similar to other years. Much of the Woodbridge contribution budget is unchanged from previous years. There's a line item for Kathy, who takes our notes, which has an increase because of her recent raise, and some money for printing, money for trails, as well as money for equipment for trail cleanup. Have you guys do you have a copy of the budget, everybody? Yeah. And do you want me to expound upon general description of the department accomplishments and goals, or do you just want to read that?
I've read it.
I've read it.
Yep, I read it.
Okay, well, the highlights are that there's the plan of conservation development. We put a lot of time into that. We collaborated on the DEEP. We've had a grant for the DEEP trail sign project, which is 14 signs that are historic signs that are linked to the Historic Society. And we're now thinking of having a patch that can be distributed and promoting it, that children and families go to see all these places and get informed about the history of the town. And we worked on with the TAC group on the country club. We spent a lot of time working with the TPZ on zoning changes endangered the natural environment and our rural quality of Woodbridge. We worked to help with the Blue Trails Drive subdivision. We participated at Earth Day, and we provided funds for the trail master to have tools, and we worked to discourage development of 804 Fountain Street. And our goals for next year are to work with the Board of Selectmen to help them make the best decisions to conserve the natural beauty of Woodbridge and maintain the healthy ecological environment for the town's residents. Develop a plan for conservation easement in portions of the Country Club of Woodbridge property. Seek for protection for important recreational and ecological enjoyment of the Fitzgerald property into perpetuity. Seek for funding for a 10-year plan for the ecological plan for the Fitzgerald property. Work with other boards and commissions like CUPOP, TPZ, and Housing to coordinate their activities with the needs and interests of the natural environment, but also help develop affordable housing, and help the town identify and acquire tracts of land that are presently undeveloped in order to purchase them for open space. So, with that said, the budget is largely the same, except that we are requesting an increase of $8,000 to fund a 10-year forest management plan for the Fitzgerald property. We recognize the town faces financial constraints in the upcoming fiscal year, and we do not take this request lightly. That said, we believe the expenditure is essential for the long-term stewardship of the Fitzgerald property, which is widely regarded as a crown jewel of the Woodbridge community. A comprehensive forestry plan will provide the scientific and management framework needed to guide responsible land use decisions, protect its ecological health, and preserve this asset for the future. Similar 10-year plans have been done in the Massaro Farm and Alice Newton Memorial Park. They found their forestry reports to be beneficial and lead to astute decision-making associated with their land management. Importantly, the Parks and Recreation Department, under the leadership of Adam Parsons, has expressed willingness to include this initiative within his budget. And also, I know there's over $80,000 in the town open space funds that could be attributed to this, to support this effort. Given the number of identified land use decisions currently under consideration in Woodbridge, we believe it is both timely and prudent to complete this forestry plan in the next fiscal year so that those decisions are informed by sound data and long-term planning. Thank you for your consideration for that line item.
A quick question on the forester plan. That's a 10-year plan? Is it $800 a year?
No,
$8,000 per year?
yeah, no, it's a one-time $8,000 plan.
Covers
Yes.
10
For a
years.
10-year plan.
Instituting some of what they say may require some funding that the rec department or we may want to do. There's some, serious concerns about the beech tree disease is hitting that area and it's decimating a certain amount of it. And they're doing stuff on Alice Newton Memorial Park to work with that, and some of that might be transferable to the Fitzgerald property.
Okay. Thank you.
Sharon, have you spoken with foresters about this, and is this based off quotes or?
I think it's an estimate. It's a good question. We spoke to David Irvine.
Irvin.
We're thinking that we might want to talk to a few different people, but we know he's done other ones in town, so he's familiar, and he also did a preliminary report on the Fitzgerald property that was very helpful.
So to clarify, because David Irvin just happens to be one of my staff members, the state will not write a forest management plan. We don't compete with the private sector. So the work that David already did at Fitzgerald is considered like the first step to getting a forest management plan. And he can certainly be involved in liaising that process and reviewing the plan, but he would not author the plan.
I see.
A consultant, private sector forester would need to be hired for that.
Which is why we need the $8,000.
Correct. And I would say this is an apt time to procure a plan, because there are, at least over the next, in 2026, there will be a grant opportunity from Deep Forestry for rural municipalities, which Woodbridge is, to cost share implementation of practices, but you're not eligible absent of a plan. So, and this is similar to, you mentioned Alice Newton Park. We were only able to procure the $50,000 or $60,000 required to do that forest management because we had a management plan and had a good grant application that the plan supported. So this would be a critical first step.
Right. That's what we understand, is it's the beginning.
And the cost, if helpful, is for the time to develop the plan. The plan is data-driven. So a forester will spend a day or half a day in the woods, collect random plot sampling data, and then analyze that data, review management and stewardship goals, and then break the woodland up into compartments and prescribe management treatments, silvicultural recommendations over the period of 10 years at each compartment level. And if that helps.
No,
That does help.
Very informative.
We can also look at funding through the Natural Resource Conservation Service. This is one of the ways that we've done it.
Well, town-owned land is not eligible for EQIP, so I don't think.
We did it at Massaro, which is town-owned land, and got a practice for this. So it's fixed payments, so you need landowner approval. We can look at it offline.
Because
all
of
the
the
practical
50.
EQIP is available for municipal owned land. So all of our funding has come through that. So for numerous practices, we can talk about that offline. But I think it's something we can explore.
Yeah,
They
I'm
usually
not
do a fixed
opposed to
rate on
having
that sort of
grants
thing, so-
pay for it, but if we can know that it has a likely chance of occurring, we can, our small amount of energy can be put more towards it than if we don't.
The grant you're talking about pays for the implementation of the plan.
Well, I think the unfortunate thing about EQIP right now is the federal government is really lowering its fiscal year allocations in the short term at least. And I know people who have applied for planning and they just can't, they're also shorter staffed, so they don't have the capacity or the budget to meet the demand. And so, not to say that it's not a viable option to consider, but if you're trying to get the plan done relatively quickly to capitalize on the implementation opportunity I mentioned, and I'm sure there are others, going through the private sector is certainly the most efficient way.
Sharon, I know that there was something done, I know Chris had mentioned that we've done something in the past along these lines. I'm not sure if you had an opportunity to take a look at that to see if it was done less than 10 years ago, and it might be a
Oh,
forestry
you
plan.
did mention that. I
So-
have not had a chance to look at that, and Chris, I would like to.
So just to see exactly what that covered and what period of time, to
Right.
see if that, for example, Andrea, as you said, if we need something like that to qualify, we might be able to apply for grants right away if we have one in place already. So that would be great.
Yeah.
And also to see what it says, to see, make sure, if we do something, certainly I'm sure they would want to consider that in it, so.
And we can talk offline about this if interested, Sharon,
Yeah.
and for the
I'm-
Conservation Commission, and David or, someone from Deep can come and talk to the Conservation about this upcoming grant opportunity. If the timing doesn't align, there might be a way to leverage your site visit report that David already completed. He would do a little more work and collect some data to get it usable for the grant purposes. That
Okay,
potential
we're open to any
exists.
version of that, and I'm completely green to knowing the system, so I'm open to any input from you or Steve or Chris that we can have to get the process going.
Karen, we just need to adjust this. I'm sorry I didn't mention it sooner to you, but the numbers here on this one are, I think the increase, for example, for the overtime regular is 13%. And the overall increase, I think, is a little different than what we show here. So,
Are you talking about the overtime regular?
yeah.
It's more time.
No, I understand. No,
Oh.
what I'm saying is it says 130% increase, and I think it just has an extra zero. I think it's 13%. So,
Where are you looking?
No,
Conservation?
it's
130%, the percent change.
oh, I'm sorry. I was
From
looking at,
1,000
it's from
to
1,000.
2,300.
Thank you. I was looking from 2,041. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
well, thank you for listening and your interest in conservation.
Thank you.
And we'll come back next year with even more exciting things.
Thank you.
All right, next up, economic development.
Good evening. Cliff Lynch for Economic Development Commission.
You didn't wear a suit for us, right?
Well, I came from work and I'll be going right back to work from here. Field director's job never ends, so
Oh, dear.
we're on the road. But I'm happy to be here and speak for the Economic Development Commission. I think this last year we have really got a lot of work done, and with the assistance of Dale Croup from Rex and our interaction with a number of different organizations within the state, SCROG, Connecticut Main Street, we're really becoming attuned to a little bit more of our business development as well as retention plans going forward. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Cliff, one of the, just to be specific in terms of one of the major goals and objectives, I know you're doing work with the town planner at this point in time.
We are.
With the focus on the business district, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
Okay, and the intent, the ultimate?
Our intent is to work with the planner and then make recommendations through town planning and zoning for zoning change to include increase of mixed-use development within the business district. Ultimately, that would help us with providing some housing down there, and we think that that is the right place to focus on this at this point, specifically because the fact you have transportation, you have other services that are already in place for the infrastructure.
I agree. I appreciate that.
Certainly.
Cliff, are you in the town planner engaging on, or perhaps you don't think this is a need, in which case I'd appreciate understanding your interpretation of that, but devising a plan or for marketing our businesses, for marketing new businesses, our existing, and for new to come?
So part of our, last year we had our initial assessment done by Connecticut Main Street Center, and that was one of the points that had been brought up that we are kind of lacking on.
Okay.
My understanding, we have not met yet since the new members have been appointed, but I understand that one of our new members is a marketing person.
Okay.
So that's going to in turn help us when we're dealing with Main Street. Main Street's giving us a lot of these tools through their online systems as well as seminars, placemaking and so on, and then being able to bring in someone with that marketing background, I think can only help us going forward.
Cliff, to that end, do you feel this budget covers any expense that might be associated with those efforts and/or that?
I think right now, yes, it does. The amount of work, I did decrease one line item, which was printing and binding. The work that Tony Belinsky and the interns from Amity did this past year was phenomenal. And they were able to deliver to us, as well as the 2030 task force, a great database of email contacts for the business owners and folks that would be directly affected by any type of work that's being done down within the business district. Specifically, this was done for the 2030 and the LOTSIP grant 30% presentation, which was done. They're working on moving to the 60%, and we're going to be able to use that as opposed to having to increase our cost of printing and things such as this to be able to actually reach out, because there were a number of businesses that were not aware of any of these projects that were going to be affecting them directly. So I think that this is great work done by the town employees and the interns.
So my understanding that there's the LOTSIP money, the grant money that we're using includes dollars that would enable us to leverage what you're saying? Is that?
I believe so.
Okay, I believe so too, but.
Mm-hmm. And I think that once we get to that point, the ball's really going to start rolling, and we'll be able to get some actual progress done as far as the infrastructure.
But when looking at Connecticut Main Street Center and implementing some of their recommendations that may come with more of those fall outside of fiscal 27, is that?
They do.
So your budget in fiscal 28 may be higher.
I think possibly due to the fact that once we get beyond the first assessment and can see, and surprisingly, I think we did fairly well, being that we're walking into it kind of blind. We weren't at the 50% mark, but we're very, very close. And a lot of the areas of concern, if you will, that we had to address have already been addressed in the past 6 months. Being able to get out, get this listing of businesses, get kind of the start of an inventory of what commercial businesses here, as well as vacancy. And then we've also had an opportunity to work with, had a presentation by a commercial realtor who is using some AI product that can identify what we're kind of missing. So with that, we are looking possibly to find another member for the commission who has that real estate background, who can kind of give us some more guidance on that.
When you say what we're missing, what do you mean by that?
As far as Main Street?
Well, yeah, well, you're saying when you were working with the commercial realtor and you said they identified some things.
Right, their programs can look at what we have in place, and they look at a very specific area and say, within this area you have a laundromat, you have a bank, you have a car dealership, you have a restaurant. What is, if anything, is missing? And then working with the commercial business owners and or the brokers can kind of direct and say, what do we want to see here, as opposed to what's going to be forced, that we're going to have to just take it.
Great.
It's wonderful that you have so many nail salons, but is it a possibility to find something else to take one of these other open spaces?
Cliff, thank you. Please keep us posted in regards to, particularly as we utilize leveraging the grant, what we're doing and what you need in order to make sure that this is top priority. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cliff.
Up next, Human Services.
Good evening. For those of you who are new, I'm Jeanette Glicksman, the Human Services Director. This is Kathy Austin. She's our Commission Chair. We have Aaron Scanlon in the audience, a Commission member, and Christy Moriarty, who is our Senior Center Director. I'm going to go over the operating budget first, since your materials are in that order, as Karen directed. The FY26 expenditures are projected at $566,000, and the proposed budget for FY27 is $578,000. This includes contractual increases to all salary line items at 2.5%, and the increase to the full-time senior center coordinator's position for a combined increase of approximately $20,000. With reductions in a few line items, the increase is approximately $12,500 over the FY projected expenditures. Additionally, it includes an almost $2,800 increase to the Quinnipiac Valley Health District. As you've seen in our letter of transit, maybe you have, maybe you haven't, we don't feel an obligation to offset the QVHD increases each year. It is a town-wide service, and if you read that paragraph in our letter of transmittal, you'll understand that this is their 6th annual increase. So that brings us to about $9,500 over last year. I know you guys deal in big numbers, so $9,500, which represents about a 1.7% increase over 26. Once again, the Human Services Department is working prudently to reduce any additional costs to residents through efficient use of budget, revenue, grants, and sponsorships. The department's goal is to provide cost-neutral programming where revenue offsets expenditure. The department raised approximately $148,000 in sponsorships and grants, itemized on page 4 of the letter of transmittal. You can applaud now. No, I'm just kidding. These grants and community sponsorships allow this department to stretch dollars to provide additional programming for residents. To sum up the changes, other than the line items related to staff, we've increased 2 repair and maintenance line items for aging kitchen equipment and vehicle maintenance as part of the nutrition and transportation programs within the senior center. In light of the community services reorganization of the department, specifically relocating some of the youth services staff and programming, we will not have the resources to apply for, administer, and report on the DCF Youth Service Bureau grant, and will not require the $14,000 in town matching dollars. So we've reduced the budget by $14,000 for the request. Additionally, I'd just like to share that the attendance at the center has increased from 3,800 in FY22 to 4,300 in 23 to 8,100 in 24, 10,000 in 25, and projected this year to be over 10,000. So, we've got good numbers there. I also want to point out that ridership through the transportation program has increased from 1,900 rides in FY22 to over 3,000 projected for FY26. So, when we talk about aging in place policies, these are good things. We plan to maintain current programs and continue to assess and develop programming to provide outstanding services to all residents. I'm going to ask if there are any questions on operating budget before I move to capital.
Jeanette, just in regards to the youth services grant that you mentioned, the $14,000, is there a potential for us to have rec take that up, or is that something that has to be through human services if we were to get the grant? And I know you said that because we're not going to do the grant, we don't have to pay the half of the 14. What's the implication of the 14 that we are getting from them? What are we not doing? What is it? What is not being funded?
As it works now, that grant is applied for with a lot of data-driven information. It is $28,000 total. We get 14, we match it with 14. We get an additional $8,000 approximately in an enhancement grant and a supplemental grant for about $2,300. As it works now, the Youth Services Director, because we are a Youth Service Bureau, does the application, the quarterly reports, executes the programming that is required for the grant, does the financials, and there's some study work that has to be done about the implications into the community. That all happens over a year's time. Without that staffing, we're not sure what the staffing's going to be. So I'm not going to take any questions on that because I have no answers. But we would not necessarily be recognized as a youth service bureau, and the rec would not be able to apply for the Youth Service Bureau grant. Potentially other grants we can investigate, but that particular grant, not so much. And of course, it relies on staff members with critical information specific to youth services.
And the implication of not having that grant, I guess, is what I'm really asking
so
about.
let me just say this. The larger portion of the grant, the 14 and 14, is used to offset the senior center director's salary. The
Youth services.
I'm sorry, Christine. The youth services director's salary, the $8,000 has been historically turned over directly to Beecher for the after-school guided study program, which they execute fully. It turns out it's about a 5-week program with teachers hired to help students who are having difficulty work with their homework and have, good ratio help with that homework. Hard to say whether or not the Beecher budget could, through discussions, take that program on. It's $8,000 in their budget. And so potentially, we're going to launch it this year. It's intended to start very soon, February, and then it really works 5 weeks through March, April in there. And then have discussions with them, depending on what we know about the future of youth services, have discussions with them so that they could potentially allocate those funds themselves.
So are we potentially losing some existing youth services that children have access to at the present time? Are we at risk of having children who are accessing programs through this grant or through other?
So the hope that I believe Mika and Tony, you can help me out here. The hope is to adjust programming within the community services department and not lose any ground with being able to provide those kinds of services, potentially dividing positive youth development programs to recreation part of the department and life skills programming through the social worker and other area of human services. So again, identifying the kinds of programs we've been doing, trying to find a way to continue that so that the community doesn't lose, but really studying what has been working and what is not working so that we have the most effective programming. No one wants to protect the programming at Human Services more than me, but I definitely want to make sure that we have productive use of town dollars. As a resident, as the director there, you all look at Human Services and say, good job, right? That's what you do. And so we want to make sure you're still saying that about us. We're studying those things.
And there was a time, Lauren, when Beecher Road owned that after-school guided study program, and it was an in-house program. And so I think with discussion, depending on what happens with community services going forward, we're giving them a lot of time to see if they value that program, how we could help them to establish it within their budgets.
Okay, all right.
And Jeanette, just pardon my ignorance, but I know there's moving parts out there, but can I think you said that we might be losing the Youth Service Bureau, and I don't know what a Youth Service Bureau entails or why we would be losing it. And I don't know whether it's too many moving parts
So I
to go into.
think, Tom, what I'm gonna say here is I'm not prepared to talk
That's
about
fine.
changes within that department until I get more direction from our first selectman and finance director, because I don't know the answer to that. It is sort of up in the air with the changes that will be made, and I want to be as forthright as possible, but I think the budget hearing is probably not the place.
Right.
and
I understand.
we'll
I
come
just
back
was
another
curious what a
night.
Youth Service Bureau entailed, but it's not the right place, so good.
We have a youth services director and coordinator, if I'm not mistaken.
Program
Okay, and
coordinator.
they take care of, they're the ones who are responsible for youth services in the Human Services Organization. So that's, I think, what you're referring to, just to clarify as far as that's concerned.
Well-
What Jeanette's referring, I'm sorry.
Sorry to interrupt, but out of 169 municipalities in the state, I believe there are a little over 100 youth service bureaus. Not every town has a youth service bureau. So I've done this much research about it, and I just...
But I don't think we're talking, I mean, again, this is perhaps not the right time. I don't know that we're talking about getting rid of a youth service director. Might change positioning if.
And that's definitely, you should look
Yeah,
that
but
up
I'm just
to
curious,
answer
what
that
is a
question,
youth service
not
bureau?
Jeanette.
Oh, just don't understand what a youth service bureau is, that's all, but it doesn't
I
belong
can
here.
come back when we know more about it, and
I withdraw all the
Mika
questions,
leads
Jeanette.
me to this point.
I can give you one short answer, since I sat on the Youth Service Bureau for a number of years. And it really was tied to
Advisory board.
the advisory board. And so the advisory board is necessary oversight for certain grants.
Okay, thank you.
And other bodies could perhaps be configured to meet those needs, but the advisory board is, because
the key
that was the name on certain grants that had to be put together.
And I think my question was really just coming from, I want to make sure that we're not doing anything in budgeting that prohibits, limits, or eliminates programs that, children are currently accessing or relying on. There are a tremendous amount of needs out there. So I just want to make sure that movement and decisions are.
In fact, we'd like to see more offerings offered in a way that is more accessible to families.
Okay, good.
Just, go on.
I'm just curious because we've discussed very kind of broadly, superficially, this notion of reorganizing some departments, specifically Human Services and Rec as an example. How does that fit into the budget process? What's like,
Timeline?
how reliable are these budgets in that context? I'm trying to just understand the process, the timing, how one might impact the other, and how we can really make informed decisions about the budget.
You can make informed decisions because we haven't done the reorganization. The reorganization will be done with these budgets in mind, based on them being done in the way we've done them in the past. In other words, with very few changes, Jeanette is providing the budget for her to continue to operate the way the department is operating currently, and the budget reflects what we've done in past years.
Okay.
And the same will be true for the recreation
Correct,
budget. Whatever changes we make, we will then have to make within the confines of those budgets.
Okay.
So we're not looking to add dollars. We're looking to optimize, which might reduce dollars. But the reorganization, whenever it should occur, and there's other things that have to happen before this can, in my mind, before this can occur. But the reorganization, when it does occur, will be based on the dollars in both pools, and how we can combine those in a way that will optimize the overall, will benefit not only operationally, but also financially, will benefit the town and where we are.
So as far as the current, this particular operating budget, we're looking at leaving potential grant dollars on the table that we could be eligible for.
And
That's-
a
that was
concern
all.
that I share only in the sense of I understand what's involved in getting those grant dollars, which is the reason I brought it up. I'm not clear as well in terms of what the implication is specifically. If I understand that we're putting in $14,000 that we wouldn't be putting in, but what does that $28,000 really go toward? To understand exactly what it's for, and if there's another means by which we can secure those funds, however it might be, so as to make sure a program isn't eliminated. But
Right, I think that's just my question.
But
That's
understand,
a good chunk of
Yeah.
funding, grant funding that can be.
the budget reflects us not getting that grant. So that's consideration for us to take in, if that's something for us to take into consideration. Correct? Correct me if I'm
You
wrong.
guys are welcome to give us $14,000 more and provide the
Right,
staff
that's
to
what
do it.
that's what I'm understanding.
I'm just saying, Mika has given me direction, his direction actually said include the grant. I just didn't see a way forward with that, so this is really the first he's hearing of me saying I'm not doing the grant, and I don't mean to be flip about it.
No, I
Mika's
understand.
not trying to cut any programming
Yeah, I'm
here,
I'm not
and
suggesting
we're
that.
certainly not looking to do that. So I want to be clear that if at all we can pursue that in another way, let's all meet and talk about that. But for right now, for the purposes of this budget, I didn't see a way through.
And Jeanette, can I just ask? You said you didn't have the staffing to do this grant. Was that, where did the staffing loss come from?
Okay, so right now, I'm not prepared to talk about personnel issues here. I just can't. And so I'm going to just go with more will be revealed.
All right, it wasn't a budget issue necessarily.
It could be a personnel issue.
Okay, then that's
So,
acceptable.
and I'm
I just-
definitely not allowed to talk about that.
Yeah, no, not at all. I just didn't know, I just wasn't clear as to.
I know, you ask good questions, Tom. I'm
It seems
sorry,
I don't, because
I'm
you
not
kept, I
prepared.
don't want to put you on the spot to say I can't talk about it, so.
Well, you don't want to, but you did.
So she can handle it.
Jeanette, it looks like for my background, going back to 24, right? The total budget's gone up about $100,000, right? And there's fluctuations year over year. What has changed in your department? And kind of, it looks like you've flexed headcount or staffing
Right.
over that time. So how is that adopted?
So the year over year, I think what you're looking at is proposed budget rather than actual. So
Well,
we did
the
not
fiscal 24 actual versus 25 went down by $20,000, and then the 26 proposed budget, right, went up to 568. So it was a $100,000 increase between 24
Sure.
and 26.
So we went with a full-time staff member in the senior center because you heard those numbers.
Right.
And we were really working very hard to minimize overtime, which we don't get, but we were earning. And so we have a full-time there. We also added a kitchen supervisor. We added a communications person who's just 8 hours a week. And we increased the salary of the social worker last year. You all who were here remember that she was woefully underpaid. And we increased the admin and the social worker's hours. So those were a lot of it.
The meal cost.
And, we went up in our 52-100. You should understand that the 52-100 line item covers kitchen costs that are frozen meals. I'm sorry, Mika?
No,
Okay.
what you said in the beginning is profound from my perspective in terms of the number of people who are actually utilizing, and that drives cost, to some degree. And I think it's astounding that it's what it is in comparison to the level of additional usage or engagement that our community has, the number of people who are engaged in the programs that you're offering. So I didn't mean to interrupt you,
No,
but it's
it's
just
okay.
like,
What I was
I know you're
just gonna
giving us the
explain,
details. And
Tony was prompting me, the meal program, the frozen meal program, our vendor went from $5 a meal to $10 a meal. In doing so, we've actually lost some clients on that. We went from, like close to 40 to half of that. What happens with those meals is we don't buy them. So that line item is intact. We're not buying the meals, we were turning them over and selling them for cost. So our revenue is decreasing a little bit, but the line item is still intact. So should we not come up with a far better plan, which we are always good for, we will be returning that money unspent at the end of the year. But our plan, Christy and I have been working hard to, and I mentioned this to Tony today, we're discussing the idea of sort of a healthy meal program cooked in-house with our good equipment. We're thinking of potentially a farm-to-table kind of thing, fresh food, partnerships. We have very good friends who give us eggs every a month, things that we can do, and Massaro always gives us great produce, things that we can do to have a really great in-house meal program. So things may shift by the end of the year. We're working on it. We've got a few projects in line.
Can I just add also that if you're looking back to FY '22, we were still
24.
24, I'm sorry, then I'll retract this.
Okay.
You didn't say that, but
We only have back to 24 in front of us.
I will say those staff adjustments were recommended by Personnel Committee.
Okay.
Based on, as Mika said, the need and the perceived loss if we didn't retain and support the good working people that we had that were overworked and underpaid.
Thank you, Andrea. Well said.
Can I ask about the usage? It's incredible, the
Good
growth
question.
up to over 10,000 people. I'm curious what that is inclusive of, or
It's not 10,000
or
people.
10,000, not everybody.
10,000 attendees.
That's what I'm getting at, I guess, is how are you tracking that, and what does it include or not include?
So we have a great software system called Schedules Plus. Most of the senior centers either use My Senior Center, I'm running out of air, My Senior Center, or Schedules Plus. Costs about $1,000 a year, and it tracks all of our reporting. It includes transportation, it includes meal programs, attendees, all of that. And when I say transportation program, we do have people utilizing the transportation program who do not attend the physical center. So I want to be clear, but they are still served by our programming.
And then do you break out like unique users? So
I can tell you that we have 504 unique members. Of them, 376 are Woodbridge residents, 128 are out-of-towners. The out-of-towners now pay a user fee for the center. It's nominal, it's $25 a year. There are added fees for taking classes. So pickleballers, they pay, if they're a resident, they pay $20. If they're a non-resident, they pay $25 on top of their $25 non-resident membership fee. And we're seeing some good income from that. And the residents, they pay for the place in their taxes. Right, they're offsetting the costs there. So it only makes sense to charge non-residents who aren't paying for it at all a small fee. And if you take an aerobics class or you take an art class, you're paying for the, that's what when I said we try and make them cost neutral. So they're paying for the cost of the instructor.
And there are some programs that are just residents.
Yes, some programs are just residents. The transportation program is just residents. Special meals, sometimes we do like Rotary sponsors. It's just for Woodbridge residents and a few Bethany residents because Rotary also covers Bethany.
And so this doesn't include the things that happen in the center that aren't human services programs. So there was an inland wetlands meeting in there last night, and there's
No.
Right. So I
you
just wanna
guys
be
all
clear.
have noticed what a beautiful space it is,
Yes.
and you guys are starting to use it quite a bit.
That's part of what I'm getting at is impact. So you've had growth of use of the center, and there's obviously been dollars put into the center over the last decade plus. But then if these programs are expanding and then uses expanding, making sure we protect the
Sure.
space
Mhm.
with proper
Right.
funding so that
we
it's
have-
continued to be used.
We have a pretty nice large screen and projector that is getting used by other groups. One of these days, we're going to say it's fees for its inspection and maintenance may go into a town-wide budget if you guys keep using that space. But, for now, we're willing to maintain it and keep it going.
That's part of what I'm getting at in terms of our discussion the other night and the buildings and their usage and maintenance. Just understanding that we're both serving this human services programs, but also that space has other uses. So
Yeah,
the use
thank
in
you.
there, you're looking at 10,000 people or 10,000 uses of the programs, but there might be quite a lot more in that space.
Oh, yeah, there was a youth services program in there tonight. It's quite heavily used.
So that'd be an interesting thing to track, I think, too, per our discussion the other evening on.
Just one question, just curious, what percentage of your users of the service are not non-property owners in town? Is there a large?
That's kind of that's kind
Is
of
there a social
we don't
services part?
non-property owners, so they're renters in
Yeah,
Woodbridge, like they
renters
live at
or-
Lucy Street.
Exactly.
We don't track rent for ownership. We do not have that
Yeah.
tracking. Just like I think Andrea asked last year, how many of our attendees still working. I remember your question from last year. That's not something.
I don't remember that.
Well, we try to be prepared for every question.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to the high traffic of the bus usage and
We pick them
if
up at
there's
their
a social
homes.
services aspect to human services, I imagine. Seems
Right.
like.
So they have residency because we know where they live.
Yeah. Woodbridge.
And that's the first question most of my staff will ask them when someone, called today, they needed fuel. The first question is, oh, and what's your address in Woodbridge? And, we're so busy. We're going to refer them somewhere else immediately. We don't have a lot of time to talk to non-residents because that's not what you guys pay us for. So we do make sure that everyone who utilizes Woodbridge-only services are Woodbridge residents. And
Yeah, I was
that's why we
just
have the social
curious
worker
to
too.
see.
And Donovan, our social worker,
Excuse.
tracks her calls and her hours and where she's putting service. Our commission gets that report every month. So we can see when calls are starting to go up and advocacy, follow-up. So we do get those numbers, those are tracked for social services too.
Thank you. No questions.
I just want to make a comment and thank you. This is the most comprehensive narrative I have ever read. Well
pretty
done.
good, yeah.
It was really
I like
very interesting.
We still have the capital to get to.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, capital.
Yeah, we
Oh,
have
yeah,
some requests.
forgot about that. Yeah.
We were hoping you wouldn't notice it.
I am wearing you all out. I'm so sorry. But this is my favorite topic, so I'll just go at it for a while. So I'm going to go slightly out of order, but bear with me. I have a reason for it. The 6-year capital budget requests fall into the categories of safety, maintenance, facilities, and transportation, all parts of the Aging in Place programming. We'll start with the accessible van that was pushed out from last year. In 2027, the department... Oh, I'm sorry. Should I wait?
I just wanted to put what you're talking about on the screen, that's all.
Okay. So in 2027, the department will request matching funds for the federal 5310 grant. That equates to about $17,000 to replace the 2015 vehicle, which by then will be 12 years old. This is a 20% match on a new accessible van through the federal program coordinated by CTDOT. We expect the actual cost of the vehicle to be approximately $80,000 to $90,000. We're looking to purchase a larger vehicle now that the attendance for center outings has grown. There's generally a wait list for all of our outings. We're looking at 15 to 20 passengers. for this, and then it would combine with one of our other vans with 12, and it's a reasonable number to go someplace. This was previously pushed out from 26, and the deadline for this grant is March 31st. So Christy and I will be working on submitting that grant March 31st, and then next year in 27 we'll need the matching funds.
Does that require a resolution and/or decision by any of the bodies here for you to do the grant, or no? By March?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'll get into the paperwork soon. We did it I did it in 2020, and we received our vehicle, and I don't remember. I'm looking at you because you might remember if you...
I don't remember.
Yeah. And then we also did it in 2016 when I was senior center director. And that it's
do you
the
recall?
2015 vehicle.
I would imagine.
We're all
that
taking the
we
fifth
needed
here.
If there was matching, if the grant required
Requires
us.
matching funds, that's why I'm
Yeah,
asking.
Yeah, I think you'll
Promise
sign
matching
off
funds.
on the grant that you always do.
Yeah.
There's paperwork. I haven't looked at it since 2020. I just got the email that it's due by March 31st and said, okay, I have a little time. So, but I'll let you know, of course.
You have to, just to make sure we get it on the agenda. if
On
it
the
needs to
agenda
be
for
done.
February.
Mhm.
Sure, as if you don't have enough to do here.
March, right?
Or,
We'd
well,
have to, if it's submitted in March, you
Yeah.
probably need to
But the
approve it.
31st, yeah.
within prior to the deadline, just put it that way.
I probably wouldn't have to submit the grant to you guys. I could probably submit that we're going to submit the grant and
Yeah.
have you approve that part of it. Okay, so that was that one. Humidity, we've talked about this before, so those of you who aren't new, probably following along. Following the completion of the Woodbridge Center renovation in the spring of 2023, the space became very humid, especially during warm summer months. The architects did not design a dehumidification system into the brand-new and expansive HVAC system. This is a safety issue, as the air quality is affected when we cannot run the air handling system, as it creates more humidity when we run the air handling system. That they're ERVs, and they take in fresh air and exchange it for stale air, and we can't do that because in running them, they're taking in too much humid air. Just to be...
Jeanette, I may have asked this last year. You would know better than I think. But is there
A
was
recourse
there-
with the
Well,
architects?
like, if they did it wrong. And
That's
so
Tony's
can
question, not
they be
me.
held liable for this? It feels utterly ridiculous that taxpayers should be paying to fix something that was never done right for the first time. Not to reflect you
No,
or
no,
your
of course not.
center,
It's a
but-
basement, and they probably should have known. The problem is, there was a mistake in what I understand with the architect, that they believed the room would hold 450 people. In their notes, it said 450 people. So, as you all know, you've been to events there, it holds 125 with tables and chairs, and it can go to a little over 200 without the tables. So they designed a very efficient air handling system that's way too big, and we've never used the third one, and once I was told by building maintenance they turned on the second one. So there were some problems with the design. I'm not an engineer, so that escaped me.
What I can say is that we've tried to see if we can get a pound of flesh from someone. But it wasn't something that needed to be included, so to speak. It wasn't something that would ordinarily be included, should have been included, but it wasn't. We don't have
Correct.
a lot of recourse
correct.
as far as that's concerned.
correct.
However, what we've done is in putting in place Dwight Rowland and Nigel Light as officers who have experience in this thing. They are now reading those plans that we
Right.
get when this comes up. And that's something
avoid it
that,
in the future.
To avoid
that's
the future,
something
right.
that we would have, they would have caught, because they both, understood it. So hopefully we can reduce the times that occurs. But
And I'll just make this plea, based on last week when we found out that there are 3 buildings that need new HVAC.
Yeah.
try to avoid this because it happened at Beecher, it happened at Amity, it happened at the senior center.
And the library.
Try to avoid it.
And the library.
Are there any grants that can leverage for energy efficiency and getting this fixed?
In getting this fixed,
from
I'm
a-
not sure, to be honest. I know we're leveraging some of that in terms of what Tom just mentioned.
Yeah.
But I don't know in regard to this,
sure.
I guess we could ask. We could ask.
I mean,
Probably not.
Yeah.
I know there's no UI would have to be an improvement for energy efficiency.
I know when we went to the conference, Cheshire
Yeah.
was using it for certain, the town of Cheshire was, and I don't remember the name of the grant, but something for their municipal building efficiencies. It just might be worth looking into so that we can get this taken care of.
Thank you.
Tony, was this in building maintenances? No.
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 Okay.
Wasn't it in the past,
So
right?
your board decided that it needed to be rectified ahead of the next year's planning. So they decided in spring, decided last cycle to use contingency funds to rectify the problem, but it didn't happen.
Meaning, it was never approached or efforts were made and the problem still exists.
We were still, I think, in the process of contacting the architect for ideas
Okay.
on how the system could be improved based on the fact that they designed it, trying to get a feel for the budget, what it needed, and maybe working with them a little bit to rectify it as cost neutral as possible.
Right, we tried to,
And that didn't
didn't work,
matter.
it didn't, right, didn't have enough of an impact, I would say.
Right. So we're putting it in again. We're hoping that this summer, the next, the papers aren't going to be curling. Everybody's not going to be cold and sweating at the same time. Right. Yeah, the hair will curl. But that's what we're hoping, that we can
Just to-
rectify this as soon as possible.
Just to clarify, this is also one of those items that, we want to get this done before the summer.
Yes.
So,
Yes,
so my
Yes.
sense is that we would need to fund it before
you
27.
would, if you wanted to get it done before the summer, yes.
What we need to look at is potentially using this year's contingency dollars as a means. by
Typically,
which
every
to
year
get
in the
this done.
budget process, there are a few items like that.
I know, but if we wait until May or June, is that going to give us enough time to get it done? You know what I mean? So I'm just wondering,
I'm
if
not
this is something
sure.
we can take up with the board, but it's
Yeah.
definitely worth considering in terms of how we
We
want
should
to
talk
approach this.
about it. I don't know how much.
I could
is
send
left.
an email to
Please, that would be
Allison
helpful.
to let her know to put it on the next
Please,
discussion.
thank you.
That would be great. I even brought Post-it notes so I would remember that. Okay, should I move on?
I think there's one more item.
Oh, I have a couple more.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I'm looking at the, oh, yeah, you're looking.
I went out of order.
28.
So, yeah, I'm not going to finish that one. You guys know where we're at. We need a new refrigerator. The senior center kitchen equipment is aging, as I said in my operating budget. Recent repair of a commercial grade refrigerator cost $2,000. We were told that the refrigerator has passed its useful life at 9 years. A replacement with similar features such as storage capacity was identified for $6,800 and will be purchased when the current unit fails, whenever that is. If it doesn't fail during this year, we'll push that off to next year, but it has to be in the plan. We request a new refrigerator, $6,800, for the seamless continuation of this center's meal program. Next one is the childcare classroom. In 2024, the Human Services Department received capital funding of $20,000 for remediation of a childcare classroom for intended use as a recreation room for seniors. The project was stalled. We did receive it. You guys gave us the $20,000. The project was stalled due to asbestos discovered in the area of the building. This year, the town received state grants for FY '26 and '27, each for $25,000 to improve senior center programming. We are utilizing the $20,000 that was set aside for remediation and renovation, and the 2026 $25,000 grant to. The $20,000 will be used, hopefully, we're getting an invoice this week coming, hopefully for 2 classrooms
quote.
A quote, I'm sorry, not an invoice, a quote, thanks. For 2 classrooms, and then the $25,000 would be added to it to remediate the room, refurbish the room and make it user-friendly for the rec room that we're planning. And by rec, I mean we have a pool table and a ping pong table, and we need some satellite space for overflow of senior center programming like mahjong or canasta or some of those programs who sometimes they just show up and want to play, but there are other programs going on. So the room would be used for those purposes, and it is right up above the senior center. Elevator, doors right there, very close. So we're asking that for next year's $25,000 grant from the state, we're able to add another $20,000 to it for the remediation. And that would be for the second room, would be for an expansion of the medical loan closet and the food pantry, which, let me tell you, residents heavily rely on these programs. And they're in a very small room. Today I got a bariatric wheelchair, which is quite large. It folds, but I literally, I had volunteers in the room. There's food on the floor being sorted, and I couldn't even get into the room with the wheelchair donation. So it is really necessary to move that into a larger space to better serve our clients. And then finally, the center building courtyard improvement, formerly used by the Child Care Center. It's a lovely space. I recommend going and having a look at it. We seek to provide an upgrade to this space and create a community asset for all residents. The project includes leveling the ground to be consistent with ADA access, as well as removal of all barriers, including current fencing. Trees must be trimmed for safety. Benches and tables would be added, along with some awnings to create a lovely sheltered location for seniors, families, and individuals to enjoy. Some Woodbridge Center recreation program and center programming and recreation programming may utilize this space as weather permits. We seek $30,000 for this renovation. These last 2 requests, the classroom remediation and the courtyard renovation, also fall within the parameters of the STEEP grant application submitted last year. Now that the town has completed its POCD, we can move forward with resubmitting this important STEEP grant application from the previous year. And these 2 projects could be folded into that scope. If they offer the $500,000 grant, we would resend our STEEP grant application, which was wonderful, I have to say. And those 2 projects, along with additional asbestos remediation, ADA compliance in the center building lobby, and renovation of the existing bathrooms and entryway to be ADA compliant, would all get done together within the grant. After serving for 2 years on the center building renovation committee and having it come to a complete halt when the $42 million price tag arrived with it, we realized that we must work to renovate these spaces individually. We are committed to chipping away at improvements to the center building, one project at a time, one grant at a time. Are there any questions?
I guess I'll make a recommendation. In terms of the refrigerator, it looks like you've spent $2,000 in repairs, 9 years old. Would that be a contingent item?
Could be.
Yeah.
It's working.
Yeah, but
I'm not going to replace it until it fails again.
Is it
35% of the cost to repair it?
Oh, we repaired it already.
They're not gonna do any more repairs, they're saying.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, we're
So-
done with repairing it.
Okay.
So should it break down, you have contingency in terms of the wait time for a new one?
Looked like it was in stock when we looked at it.
Okay.
And it was $6,500 with a $300 delivery fee. So I'm asking for 68, but it would be delivered.
Okay.
And in place. I think what happened last time is we lost a little bit of whipped cream and a little bit of heavy cream, but it was thankfully at a time where it wasn't full of preparations for like a Thanksgiving meal.
Right, so.
No, you're right, you're right. We don't want to lose
Just.
$300 worth of groceries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for all the hard work you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette.
We have next, TPZ, inland wetlands, zoning.
All those alphabets first. So I have no presentation for you. I'm just here I'm Chris Sullivan, just in case you don't know. I staff the 3 land use agencies, inland wetlands, town planning and zoning board of appeals. And you have our budgets. I've gone through, and I believe ZBA and inland wetlands are at 0. The TPZ
I'll put
has.
TPZ up on the screen first.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't read that far because I don't have those glasses on, so I'm sorry. So there it is. I've tried to bring it down as much as I can. There are things in there that, dependent on what happens during the year, there may be more expense than what's shown there. Those particular items are the legal ads that I know everybody hates having in the newspaper, but we are still required by statute to do that. So we have to pay for that. And it depends on how many applications come through, how lengthy they are. Historically, the register would give a discount on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which was typically why I was posting notices on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I try to minimize the amount of verbiage that's in there, but still do what's legally required in terms of providing a description to those people that have to read it so that they know what the heck is going on. And then the other thing is that the state has now mandated that town planning and zoning commission members have to be trained. And the training that they've been doing, which is the best training for them in terms of because they are volunteers just like you, where they can do it in one fell swoop. One of the places is through the Connecticut Bar Association, and that's typically $55 to $60. They used to do it in Middletown, but now they thankfully do it via Zoom, so the members don't have to travel. But that gives them a full scope of what they need for their training. So the training that's required when they're a new member is 4 hours of training within the first year, of which 1 hour has to be on housing. And thereafter, if they continue and they haven't been put off and resigned from a commission, then they have to do 4 hours in 2 years. Some of the programs we can do can be free, but most of them you're paying for. Clear, which is through UConn, has also offered them in Haddam. This fall we had several members who went there, and they really were impressed with the level of program that they had. So depending on which members I have, we just got some new members on town planning and zoning, so they're going to have to get their 4 years done within the year that they come on. So they came on in January, so by next December they have to be fully trained. I have other members that have to start doing that 4-year training. So so that's a flex thing. But other than that, those are the two things that really kind of we have not too much control over. We do have a line item, I don't know, do we have the line item in there still for engineering?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Yep.
So with that particular line item, we do, under your, the fee schedule that you adopted, we can charge the applicant for the cost of review. So we do that, and, but the thing is if our consultants, if it runs over, they're only liable for how much we've charged them. So when we charge them, we get an estimate from our consultants, we multiply that by 150%, that's what we get. And if it runs over that for some reason, then the town's on the hook for it, because that's the way it's written. So far, it seemed to work out pretty well, but
Is
there's
there any
that
latitude
too.
in the 150%, Chris?
150%.
That's what it has to be.
That's the way it's written, and that's what I write to them, and that's what we get. And then they're supposed to be remitted back. Any difference, generally, there's not much going back, if any.
So that's that one. There is a $20,000 line item in there, and that's because, as you well know, we just finished our POCD. And we just had a wonderful bill, House Bill number 8002, which is mainly regarding housing. And that's going to require changes both to the zoning regulations and most likely to the POCD, because there are requirements that are coming down from the state that you don't have any choice. You have to do them. And so that is in there so that we can engage the services of a professional to assist in identifying what those are and incorporating them in a timely fashion, because the House bill has timeframes built within it by which time we have to do certain things. So that's why that's in
Chris,
there.
how confident are we in 20,000? Like, based on what we know today about the bill and how much, because, I mean, you can look, the consulting associated with the POCD was a lot higher, so we
The
potentially...
POCD was different because that involved a lot more stuff, and actually it, in and of itself, the initial cost of that was less, and then it ended up being obviously more because we couldn't get mapping that was done or offered by Scrog and whatnot. This is just looking at regs and then also looking at the bill itself. So currently, Town Council Nick Mamonti and Mike DiMatteo, who you've engaged for consulting services for the town, are beginning a review for town planning and zoning, and they're going to come to them in February, if they can, to go over with them initially what those changes may be. So at this point, I don't honestly know, because the bill itself is in excess of 100 pages long.
Right.
And so they're reviewing all that to see what exactly we have to do.
From my
I was just going to say, from my brief understanding of it, some of the requirements are pushed out a couple of years.
Yes.
So maybe this budget line item could get pushed out a year.
Yeah, I didn't know if it would be higher or lower based on...
Yeah, I'm thinking both
we don't
those
know
are right.
much
It might
about
be more
today,
and it might be
right?
later.
So-
There should be something in it now. I mean, you shouldn't get rid of it.
My understanding is that
And
it's a little further
truthfully,
up, yeah.
I mean, when you look at the budget of what this town hall runs on, and the whole town runs on, for something as critical as that, I mean, it's your choice. You can do what you want to do.
No,
We put it in there.
It might not be enough.
We don't know.
Right.
To
But,
that end,
you know, we have to have at least a place marker that's in there.
considering what the implications are of certain types of applications, and the fact that ordinarily, like you said, we generally are in a position to bill the applicant for engineering and some of that work that's done there. There are applications where that's not the case, and the burden of proof becomes ours. And in those cases, we would have to spend a lot more than you would otherwise. So I think it's important that we have something in there for those particular reasons. And I'm also of the opinion that it might, I intend to put more dollars from a legal standpoint into my budget, into the first selectman budget or the selectman's office budget, but I'm not sure if we want to consider it something to discuss when we get together on this. It's something to consider in terms of what the number is here.
I mean, we can talk to Mike and just ask if he has an idea of what it would be to, you know, in terms of hours.
Sounds
and
like
what-
we don't have a scope yet.
We don't have a scope. We don't have, as I say, that, you know, the bill just got signed into place in November, and it's a very interesting bill. We're good at
Chris,
that. Yes.
You mentioned the trainings required for TPZ members, and you gave a couple examples like CLEAR and the Bar Association. I'm just wondering, so it seems like there's a range of options for the service of training, the providers. And if this, perhaps this is more of a statement, but I would say, I think this is a good thing. The training is really, I'd imagine, valuable. And so I wouldn't limit budget too much, like pay for the best quality training that is available, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, the Bar Association training, it's typically almost 8 hours worth of training, and they touch base on all sorts of things. They touch base on zoning board of appeals, they do wetlands, but then they also do site plan review and the things that are necessary for it. So it gives them a rounded background on that. So that's a really good training, and it's nice that it's offered via Zoom, because that's what turns off some members, because it's that travel time to get there and whatnot. The one that was done in the fall in East Haddam is a really fantastic program. The lawyer who typically puts on that program is Mark Brantz. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's an excellent an attorney in terms of land use, and you know, every member that's done them and come back said how welcome they were to hear those things.
So you think these are some of the best?
Those are
options?
the two of the best.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then once, like, let's say there's a member that serves for a decade or longer, like, are they required to maintain training credits?
Every 2 years.
Every 2
Once
years.
you're on.
Okay.
The first year you have to take the 4 hours. Thereafter, if you remain on the commission, every 2 years you have to take an additional 4.
I think you did say that, I just
Yeah, no,
missed,
okay.
thank you.
You're hearing a lot of stuff. Anything else on that one? Okay, what are we moving on to next time? CBA, oh, my little one. They're there, and I think lately they've met 3 or 4 times a year. So it depends on who's out there that needs a variance and comes in. I mean, there were some changes made to the zoning regulations a few years back where we used to have 2 front yard setbacks, and when we eliminated that, that made the workload of ZBA go down because there were less variances that had to get requested. So, and that's a 0 increase one. So. We on to wetlands? And there's my wetlands, my favorite one. Don't tell the TPC people, my CBA people that. And this one again is 0. And again, it's got the consultant fee that's in there. Again, we try to recoup what's back. Historically, sometimes that's been tapped, that engineering line item, whatever you want to call it, has been tapped when there's been a need to have some review done for a town project, and it's, Tony can attest to that,
Yep.
that it's come out of there. So that's where that line item is there. It's in there in case it's needed for that. Other than that, their training, they have training also that they go to. The training that's required from DEEP is actually online, but there are other trainings that are offered, and when it's out in the field, I just went to one in the fall along with Jack Herrick, and it was phenomenal because we were out in the field, we were looking at a deep test hole for where identifying wetland soils, and that's how you learn. I mean, it's nice to look at a video, but being out in the field is amazing. One of the other places that they go is a conference in the fall, and it's held between the conservation commissions and the inland wetlands agencies. And it's a wonderful place where everybody pools together. They have different breakout sessions, work sessions, and then they also have usually a key speaker who comes in. So it's a great learning experience, and then they get to network with other commission members and whatnot. So that one's out there. And then the other one that they'll typically go to is through the Connecticut Association of Wetland Scientists. And that's, again, another networking kind of thing. So that's what they do. And
Was the Conservation Commission invited to that one as well?
they jointly do the yearly membership to CACIWC, which is the Connecticut Association of Conservation and Inland Wetlands Commissions.
Okay.
So we jointly have that. They've been sending members, and we've been funding it through the wetlands budget.
Okay.
So,
Because I didn't see that in their budget. That's
yeah,
why
I had
was
asked
asking.
them to put a line item in there, but it didn't sound like it got
Didn't
put
quite
in.
make it in, right.
So,
Okay.
I should just mention that maybe you might want to consider that, because that is something that they can go to, but we have been, you know, inland wetlands, we've been playing with our budget to get them to be able to go, because it's
Okay.
also valuable for them to go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, but it's all in here.
Yeah.
We put that on you.
Yeah, we put that on me, and then we juggle things around.
Okay, thank you.
It's just good to have people out there and,
Oh,
and get
absolutely.
trained. And
Okay.
it kind of excites them to get involved some more. So. Anything else I can offer for you? No?
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
Thank you. too.
Next up, the town clerk.
Hi, everyone. I don't have anything exciting following everything else. I was mindful of keeping the budget at 0, since I know, the impact that everything has been going with the town. So I had some increases, and obviously, one of them was salary. That was partially due to the increase, and I increased my part-time an hour. That doesn't mean that's what it's gonna be, but we have a couple of new systems coming up. Total vote, our whole election system is changing, not when we want it to change. So it's changing when we're gonna be going into primaries, and that's gonna be interesting. So I'm gonna have people in, so everybody can run the election, okay? And other than that, I don't have a lot. I cut professional services. That was mainly used to preserve some old records. It was also used for the grants that were being applied for. I think if I need anything, I think I can use between the dollar fund that I have available to me and what I have here. I'm more than certain, because some things can be put aside. It's not crucial. It won't impact the town at all. Our phone went up a little bit, but I don't know if that's the new system cost. When I was averaging it out, the phone seemed to, our phone, but that, once again, that's nothing. Overall, I brought the budget in a perfect world, it's a little bit under than what it was last year. And the only thing, well, our legal ads went up also, but that's something I don't have control over. Either state statute mandates what I have to do. And, no, you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, in
Oh,
regard to
go
the
ahead.
phone, just so you're aware and everyone's aware, it's more a redistribution than necessarily an increase. It's a redistribution of the,
Correct.
overall.
Right, and
as
I'm
opposed
just
to
saying,
based
when
on
I was
usage and
looking
things
at the
of that nature.
budget, I saw, so I averaged that out monthly to figure out what I was supposed to be putting in there. So other than that, I tried to do the best I could, keeping it flat, so.
You did it.
You did.
So
Yeah.
You kept it flat. So
Appreciate it.
that's, was that just so you didn't have to write a big memo as to what else you were going to need to do?
I wrote my rationales behind, no,
Appreciate it.
because like I said, there are some things that can wait. And we can still, and we've been trying as much as possible to cut costs by a lot more email rather than postage. We're getting more into with the dogs. We're doing postcards instead of letters. We have the online service now during, the dog months. Townspeople have loved that. I met with Jen Moffo, Jess Moffo. And we're going to try to do something in tandem, and maybe with Seymour also, where we're going to do rabies and licensing at the same time. So that should cut down even more if we can, just do the licenses right there rather than even mailing them out. So we're looking, I know that's not going to be huge, but we're looking to cut and save wherever we can. So.
Not mentioned in your write-ups was the additional, we are putting additional responsibilities, if you will, to the town clerk where we can. For example, where clerical staff up here had previously been doing board and commission administration, if you will, and keeping tabs and doing all that. The town clerk has now got that, and there's some other areas as well where we're moving to town clerk. And thank you and your team for being as accommodating as you have been with regard to
shout out
this.
to my team. I have a great team, so, and to the registrar, since they're not my team, but we work together, so.
We're on the same.
So, thank you. Eddie? I'm sorry.
Great job.
Thank you.
In regard to your number 6 goal, getting a credit card vendor process.
Yes, and that, I wanted to see how it went with the dogs.
what we're probably gonna try to do is link in what they're using with, because the vendor we have now, IQS, was hopeful something was gonna be coming quicker than it did, so I was waiting, because they're the ones during the dog months that are handling, at no cost to the town, handling the dog licensing, and then they send a check to the town, you know, collecting the fees. So they charge a fee, they keep the fee, and then they send, you know, our regular amount to the town.
So we're not subsidizing that fee?
No, we are not subsidizing.
So we're looking to leverage that as well in town?
So I was hopeful, and they were hopeful at first, that they were going to have their own credit card system, and it would have worked the same way. It hasn't come, so now I'm thinking point and pay or whatever.
We have a couple different platforms that we can use.
Right, and, but I was gonna try to, I was holding off to try it because it worked so well, their system, they're very responsive, so I was hopeful, but
As
it
long as
doesn't
we're not
look.
paying the fee, I don't care who
No,
pays.
no, and that is the whole idea.
Yeah,
That-
okay,
So,
thank you.
Is there a way to leverage the same system, like when you, online, paying your taxes online?
Yeah, that's point and pay.
That's
yeah,
point and pay.
that's point and
That's the
pay.
point and pay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
It's
one
just I
option,
was
sure.
hoping it would be integrated, because they could have integrated everything within, like they did with the dog, but it doesn't look like a go, so, right now for this year, so. Any other questions?
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Tim.
Registrars, last.
Hello, I have to preface this by apologizing. My daughter tells me that I'm pretty good technically for an old man, but apparently I'm not as good as I thought, because the notes on the budget thing, I thought I'd overlaid last year's comments with new ones, and I didn't, apparently, so.
Well, some are right and some are.
Anna has already told, yeah, I know, but we're gonna go over the variance analysis, which I think is a better explanation of what's going on with our budget.
Before you do that, Pennell, I just want to say a word. The next 4 weeks are going to be living hell for us, because we're going to be taking on the new system, and they are shutting off the old one. So some of you know that I've been involved in the testing of the new system over the past 2 years. And I'm keeping my fingers and toes crossed, because there's still some issues that have to be done. But the main thing is, they promised us they would be giving us a lot of training, both online and in person. And yesterday's Zoom meeting with the Secretary of State, she said, well, play around with it. But that's no training. I mean, this is going to be a fight, and I am involved in this fight, and I'll tell you right now, I'm going to fight my way through this, because they have to give us training. It's not intuitive. This new system is totally different. It's different in the way you register voters, it's different in the way you run elections, it's different in the reporting. I mean, and it's a wonderful system. I'm not saying it isn't a good system, but it's not intuitive, and registrars have to be trained on this. We are going to be spending a lot of time in the office more than we do now, because we have to get that training done. So I'm a little concerned about it, but I'm going to fight for our registrars, and we're going to get it done.
You go, girl. You're doing more than.
Okay.
I will just say,
You've been.
this is the spreadsheet fanatic, I think I want to call it. Every single item on our budget was drilled down in a separate spreadsheet, and I will say that he did a wonderful job with the numbers.
Well, I do want to preface, because our budget is a little wonky, because it varies from year to year because of the number of elections. And we do build, I started doing this when I was registered in 2020, I build a zero-based budget every year. I build it from bottom up, every election. Each election I have a spreadsheet where I actually calculate the cost of that election, and then I compare from year to year, just so you know that behind all this is a fair amount of detail. So if we go to the budget variance, the problem we have in the registrar's office, we have like this 4-year cycle where our costs go up, down, up, down. The reason being is that in the even numbered fiscal years, odd numbered calendar years, there's a municipal, when we have the municipal election, we don't have a primary generally, and we never budget for it. In the odd numbered fiscal years, which are even number years, we have a primary. In the presidential year, which was fiscal year 25, it was actually a fairly cheap primary because it was just the Republicans, it was just the US Senate race. But this year, in the gubernatorial year, we generally program, we're gonna have we already know there's gonna be gubernatorial, there's generally for all the offices. It's 2 parties, 2 districts. So it's an expensive, it was 7 days of early voting now, thank you, to the legislature.
It's 14 for the regular election.
It's expensive. So what I try to do every year is
remember.
take this year's budget and then sort of tell you how it's adjusting. So like last year we had negatives, but this year unfortunately goes the other way. So the biggest change, so our budget was $82,152 this year. That's about what we're going to spend. The biggest change going to next year is that we have this additional primary. It's going to cost about $24,000. That's with, it's so expensive because we do have 7 days of early voting, 2 districts, 2 parties. And we have to have certain separation of personnel between parties under state law. We did take out the cost of the recanvass this year. We don't expect to have a recanvass next year, so that's a reduction. We took over the costs. I sat down with Kim and we agreed on splitting up. She does all the ballots and absentee. It used to be the town clerk took everything. But with the new tabulators coming in, and the cost for those, by the way, almost doubled, we took over all the tabulator costs this year from Kim, which weren't in the prior year. That's about $4,000, which are license fees, maintenance fees, and then the programming fees. New telephone costs, I had to put that in there, it was about $1,000, doubled our cost. So the difference is so the adjusted budget on a year-to-year sort of even basis is about $107,000. The difference with 111 is basically salaries and increase in costs for conferences and a few things like that. And I do have a memo in there with what we would do if we had to bring down that amount of money. Limit times, do some stuff. So, questions?
Have there, to my understanding, there are efforts being made from registrars, perhaps from clerks, but to advocate for reducing the number of early voting days.
Yes.
Is there an update?
Well, I can speak to that, yeah. And it's a good time for me to mention that both Anna and I are very active in the State Registrars Association. Anna is on the Technology Committee. I'm chairman for New Haven County, chairman of the Audit Committee, and on the Manual Committee. So I'm on the executive board, so I do know. Our lobby, we have a lobbyist, and they advocate, the Secretary of State is advocating for we're pushing for 7, cutting it in half. I think the Secretary of State is at 10 days. It was on the legislature's radar. They've refused. They didn't pass any election bills this year. I could go into the politics of that, but I'm not going to do it publicly on the TV camera, but I could talk offline. We're not happy about it. We continue to advocate. I wouldn't count on it, though, because the problem is early voting has been popular. Look at Woodbridge. We had 1,400 people for the municipal election. We had almost 2,000 for the last presidential election, and the Secretary of State knows, the legislature knows that. But it costs a lot of money. I will tell you that, and I'm going to give this figure because it should be, anytime you talk to our reps, please tell, I always tell them, we estimate early voting in this budget, 111,000 budget, is $31,456, which is half. The total elections is about 60% of the budget. That's half of it. So we're pushing hard.
Thank you.
Another thing we're advocating for very strongly is the use of tabulators during early voting.
Yes.
Because voters are not happy with the envelopes.
Yeah.
And we're not happy with the envelopes. It's a lot of work, a lot of extra work.
Yeah, that would be helpful because
Are they seemingly more receptive to that, or not?
that one they're more receptive to.
Okay.
There was some skirmishing. It was on the floor last time, but there was some personality conflicts that occurred that scuttled any election bills. So unfortunately didn't pass, but the Secretary and the Registrars Association, and I believe the Town Clerks Association, are pushing it for this next session.
As well
Everybody
as,
I talk to, all the voters, whatever, I always tell them, call your rep, email your reps,
Yeah.
tell them all, senators, tell them all to get this thing done, because it's just,
Yeah, we like to get rid of the envelopes and the labels and then just have
and we
people.
have to keep all this stuff for 22 months.
Yeah.
It's
Connecticut-
filling our vault with
Connecticut
unnecessary
Council,
stuff, really.
Connecticut Council of Municipalities, the Council of Small Towns, and our Council of Governments, our local SCROG, have all advocated for shorter times. Now, one of the things that you said that we're trying to, municipalities or the leaders of the municipalities are trying to do is leverage the fact that when they looked at the people who did early voting, they were people who voted in the elections anyway. As in the intent for early voting was to try to enable people who were otherwise not able to vote. So they're leveraging that, and they're leveraging some other information that I just forgot that I had a moment ago, in terms of trying to reduce the overall number of days associated with early vote. Oh, I remember, it was leveraging the fact that now there is, what is it called, no excuse absentee balloting.
That's another thing we're
So-
pushing, because if there were no excuse absentee ballots, that would take the pressure off
Right.
early voting.
Right.
Yep.
So,
I'm a nerd, so I have to say this. I actually looked at the people that didn't vote in 2023, but did vote in 2025, and how did they vote? And there was not a surge in early voting among those people. It was the same percentage as everyone else. I don't believe that early voting increased turnout.
it's making it more convenient.
What?
It's making it more convenient for people who generally vote.
It is more convenient, and so, but you could do that with, I believe you could do that with 7 days, say, of early voting rather than 14. 'Cause 14 and we can handle more people on a day.
Do you think we should be leveraging the cost as well?
Well, that's what's driving, yeah, absolutely.
Well, you worked especially hard this past municipal election with the re-canvas, and just want to thank you for that.
She is a really good, she taught me everything. I mean, I'm really glad that.
I even wore my weather shirt, I hope you
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little nervous about this weekend, because my driveway, listen, if I can't get out, I'm gonna have to call the fire department or somebody to come and get me out if our power goes out. Because nobody's coming down my driveway except the big truck. So, anyway, stay safe, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn,
I'll second that motion.
Board of Finance.
I'll second
Motion
it.
to adjourn.
Well, did we all vote, Board of Selectmen?
We all voted.
Anybody votes?
There, it doesn't matter. That's the one that doesn't.